Well, hello. Here I am at my puzzle table, and it's been a long time since I've made a video blog, and a lot's happened. I've got really quite bad with depression, and it's something that I don't think we'll ever get past, because my mind just works that way. And the main thing really is that, you know, it's tough getting up every morning and everything is bad luck. It's like you look at your sales and there's no sales, and these things ought to sell because they're good stuff, but they don't sell. And I'm always struggling for money, and it doesn't seem to get any better. I don't seem to win anything. I don't seem to progress at all. It's always the same stale shit. So that's really what the main part of my depression is, and I've got a phone call today to hopefully get some help for that. But I think perhaps I was drawn to wanting to listen to Tom Baker's autobiography, and perhaps there's a reason for that, because there are quite a lot of similarities between me and Tom Baker. Because one of the first things I noticed was that he said, you know, as a child he longed for death, and that's very true of me as well. I do long for death. You know, it's nothing to, you know, flap about. You know, I'm quite happy to tell people that I want to be dead. I don't think a lot of people understand it, but I wanted to make a video because I really like listening to Tom Baker's autobiography, and this is not me reading it, this is me listening to it via audio. But I feel myself connecting to Tom Baker because some of the things he says really ring true to me, and his way of looking at things makes me think that if I thought like that, maybe I wouldn't be so depressed. I wanted to share some of the best bits, because if you haven't read the book or listened to it, it's a great read. Some of it is, you know, quite like, oh my god. Like, for example, you know, I was just listening to it, and then Tom Baker starts talking about being in a circle and jacking off with all these men, and you know, screaming out girls' names, and I was like, well, this is Tom Baker. This is the guy who I've grown up with watching all my life, and this is Tom Baker in a completely different light. And it's like, what? It's just like, oh, it's really hard, really difficult to listen to, because he is my favourite Doctor. But it doesn't put me off, because I know, you know, I know that's part of his life, that's how he is. But one of my absolute favourite stories from it so far, because I'm only on about disc 3, is this great story where Tom Baker gets married to his first wife, and he inherits this awful father-in-law. And when they have their first child, you know, he kind of goes like, this is my child, because I paid for the gynecologist, I paid for the nursing home, and I did all this, and I paid for this, and I paid for that, and Tom Baker pays for nothing. So he's my child. And they treat Tom Baker terribly. And because of the way he's grown up and the way his mind works, because, you know, being a monk and everything, they've kind of trained his head to kind of think in a different way, to loathe yourself, you know. And so he just kind of accepts it. He doesn't fight back. Doesn't fight back. And then his father-in-law gets a stroke and has to rely on Tom, because he's the only one who will look after him, because the other family members don't want to. They don't want to know. So he has to wipe this guy's ass, and, you know, he has to, you know, do all these disgusting things, and Tom Baker says, you know, it is possible to care for someone who you hate. And but what the best bit is, though, that, you know, Tom Baker, he doesn't need to fight back. He just waits and waits and waits, and he gets his victory in the end. And as he says, you know, he gets them by the balls, because, you know, I think this is just a great story. And I really want to kind of put that in my own life, you know. To instead of getting angry and fighting, to just rise above it. But of course that is very difficult. And we're just going into a bit now where Tom Baker's about to commit suicide, and I can see that, you know, there are going to be bits here where I really resonate with it. and really connect with it. But I wanted to get that out because I like to talk about things if they're really good and really excellent, and this really is. And I kind of get a sort of peace from listening to it, but I know that it won't last forever, and I'm bound to get depressed again. And you know, some of my depression comes from like the fact that a lot of my drawings just fail, and that's because in my head, because I've got anxiety, I'm thinking, you know, that's a cost, that's a deduction there that's gone. You know, we've wasted paper, we've wasted ink, we've wasted pencils, and all that is cost and cost and cost, and that's what's going on in my head. And one of the other problems I had was that anxiety was just literally bursting out of my head. It was like so much enormous anxiety that it was just so much, and I had to take time off work because it was just so much anxiety. But I did enjoy the time I had off work because I was signed off for sick. But I did enjoy it because it was a time of great peace, and for 2 weeks I just had no worries. I just did my puzzles because I thought that'd be something that I should do, you know, do something calm and relaxing. And it was nice to have a time to get away and to just, you know, have this spare time, which I don't often have because I usually take all my holiday at once. And so it was really nice, and I had time for once, which was really lovely. I look forward to listening to the rest of Tom Baker's autobiography, and then maybe after that I'll listen to Jon Pertwee's if he's got like an audio book. Because I think it's faster to listen to audiobooks, because, you know, reading books for me takes forever, but listening to an audiobook takes like 2 hours, so it's quite lovely, really. It kind of saves on all that reading. But I'm sure Jon Pertwee's done an audiobook of his book because, you know, he again has got a very distinctive voice, so I'm sure he has. And if you could just take a quick peek at my eBay and see if there's anything there that you might be interested in, it does help enormously. Not only financially, but it helps spiritually, because it gives me a little bit of hope, which is all I really need, really, a little bit of hope. It gives me something to cling to get through the day, so it really is important. But there we are. There we are.
I wiped the hen shit off his eggs every morning before soft boiling them to perfection. His toast was fresh and generously buttered with the crusts off. I spoon-fed him and afterwards scrubbed his dentures, and then he would growl, "Lavatory." And I'd fix that too. Never once did he say, "Thanks, cock. You might be a lousy son-in-law, but you wipe good arse." No, never.